Welcome to another episode of the Canon on the Boomer Buzz channel. I'm your host Terry, and today doing a spoiler review of episode 5 of WandaVision. Bruh, it went wild. This episode went wild. So, yeah, there's so much. Honestly, let me tell you, I've been watching, kind of going along. I've been picking up different things, but for the most part, I've been going along with the series. I haven't been one where I've been kind of crazy theorizing, and I wouldn't say I ever do that, but I definitely can get in the theory bag when I want to. But for this one, I've seen a lot of people taking every little piece and going wild with it. I've been just kind of letting it, simmer, take my time and get the info. And I don't have crazy theories now, but after this episode, I definitely feel confident in some stuff. So the first thing I would say that I'm pretty confident in is that Agatha is part of whoever's controlling this. I don't know if she's totally the person, because I don't think anything in this series is throwaway, and for the most part they've played her kind of like really sidekicky. Obviously she's the neighbor, she's the sidekick neighbor, which is already kind of a symbol, but then she's always kind of going out of her way to make sure she's the one to help out Wanda. And even in this episode, obviously the big creepy part where she's like, do you want me to take that from the top? That's not how you wanted it to go. You wanted me to hold the babies. And so obviously she is at least she understands what's going on. We've seen that multiple times. This time was the most obvious one where it was like, yo, I know what's going on. But then even later in this episode, she does magic and she's like, oh, whatever, it's Agatha. And then, Agatha brings the doghouse, was like, oh, I heard you got a new dog. No one even told her that. Like all this stuff. We've seen her talking to Norm where she's like, no, bro, don't say that. Like she is clearly in it, or she's like involved with the bigger plot. Even to the point where they start naming almost everybody that's in the show, but they don't name her. And they're like, yo, she they never named her as like an actual resident of Westview or Eastview or whatever it was. They didn't name her. And so to me, I don't know a whole bunch about Agnes, or whatever. I don't even remember the name, honestly, but from the character from the comics, I don't know a whole bunch. I know she's supposed to be some type of witch or whatever. Obviously, Marvel don't follow exactly the comics. They take elements of it, but I think that she is playing some type of character that has some type of power. Now, obviously, we seen the Halloween episode. Scarlet Witch is in her classic attire. Vision is in his classic attire, and Agatha is in a witch costume. So that means something to me. Even if it might not be the exact same character from the comics, that means something to me. But as we've seen more in this season, I think that tells me more about her character, that because she's the only one that is tapped in. Like, I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know, maybe if that was a confidant, but we've never seen anybody besides Agatha and her really be aware of what's going on. I guess the doctor kind of mentions it a little bit, but we didn't really see nobody that knows what's going on. And so obviously we seen Rambeau, I can't remember. Is Monica the mom, or we seen Rambeau? She came out and she was like, I was in a trance. Like, I didn't even really know what was going on. So obviously most of these people are in a trance. Now we see the person that Vision is working with, and Vision pretty much taps into his mind, and he's like, oh my God, like, I need to check my family. What's going on? Like, tell her to make it stop. Like, she's controlling me. It hurts. All this stuff. Monica kind of mentioned that too, but they are purposefully saying her. They're purposefully, saying her. And then they, in the real world, they start twisting Rambeau's words to be like, you said it felt like this. You said she was doing this. She's obviously taking people hostage. And then in the culmination, we see her talking to Vision like, do you really think I'm controlling all these people? Do you really think I can make sure that they going here and going there and doing all these things? And obviously we know she's been lying to Vision, but there's a reason, and maybe this is just the writer in me. I see certain trends. There's a reason they put those scenes in. There's a reason the dialogue is set up the way it is. It really, because whenever a story is leading you one way heavily, it usually means that something else is about to come around the corner. So we keep hearing to her, like, tell her to make it stop. She's in control. It's her. And, you know, obviously everybody's like, it's Wanda. Even at that line, it's Wanda. She's in control. And Rambeau says again, you're in control. Everybody's like, Wanda, you're the one doing this. So it is such a misdirect that I gotta believe it's somebody else. Agatha seems like she's part of it again because she's the only one that has stood out outside of everybody else as far as what she knows and how she's perceiving what's going on. But on top of that, I just don't feel like she's the main person because she seems to not have full control. Like she still seems kind of scared of Wanda. I know there's a lot of speculation about Mephisto and all these other different people that might be taking advantage of Wanda. And I understand. I don't know if it's him, but I understand that this could be a play for we promise Wanda to get this life, or we're going to deliver this life. And in turn, she's going to continue to make this energy to destroy the world or rewrite the world or however it might be. And it's Agatha's job as the middle person to make sure that Wanda's happy, that she's giving her the life that she wants so she stays in it. Because, you know, everything you see, she shows up to be like, yo, you need this. Okay, yo, you need this. Okay, yo, you need this. And then even in that point, oh, that's not how you want it to go. Do you want me to take it from the top? Like she is into what's happening. So for me, Agatha, which I didn't agree at first, like Kathryn Hahn, love her as an actress. I just didn't think they would make her as a major character. But I think it's starting to make more sense that she's more of a middle person. She's like the boots on the ground, making sure that things go the way that it's supposed to go to keep Wanda happy and invested into this world for whoever the big bad is of the world. And so I think she has some type of powers, some type of witch powers. And she's the one that's really controlling everybody. And she's the one that's actually making sure everything goes around in this world so that Wanda can have her life. And I don't know who the big bad might be. Obviously, if you go through the comics and stuff, like people think it's Mephisto, but I think they might switch it around. It could be a number of different people. And so it could be Dormammu for all we know. And so that's the number one thing. That's the number one thing I am very safe in saying is going on. The second thing is we're fully crossing over with the X-Men. This is the gateway into the X-Men. Now, some people might say duh, but Kevin Feige a while ago said, you know, I got my 5-year plan. This is how, I got my 5-year plan before we even get to the X-Men or any Fox properties. And it was like, okay, that's interesting. But then you start to see the confirmation by Jamie Foxx that he's playing Electro, and that it's a different version, but it's Electro, which makes sense because I think he died. You got Doc Ock coming back from Sam Raimi Spider-Man. He died as well. There was some talk about Norm Osborn. I don't know if that was confirmed. Obviously talk about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Now that's all Sony. They got to deal with Sony. That makes sense. But they also own Fox. And so if you're going to intermingle a multiverse where Sony could come in, why not do the same thing with Fox? And so a lot of people's like multiverse, that's how we gonna get it, because in this world, there's no mutants. We never heard the word. We never seen anything. It was always enhanced. And there was a reason, because they own the property. But once they got X-Men, everybody's like, oh, just throw the X-Men in there. But you can't, because it's like, where's the whole history of the X-Men? The whole point of the X-Men is like being through the struggle of the mutants. And so it's like, how do you add that without, retconning time? Well, you bring in an alternate universe. That's how comics do it. So the X-Men always existed here. All the stuff existed here. Now it's crossing over with the MCU. And so a lot of people was like, that's what this whole multiverse thing is about. And it seemed a little too easy. It also seemed like, hey, Feige said, ain't gonna be no X-Men, and we ain't seen nothing since. But now I am 100% sure, and maybe it's silly to say, but I'm 100% sure, because Evan Peters, everybody was like, he might not be playing. That's not who he might be playing. People, jumping in the ship and all that. And obviously we now know he is playing a version of Quicksilver. And now some people will look at the way he was talking and be like, well, he's more like Fox Quicksilver than he is our Quicksilver. Don't forget, this is a TV show. Like, Wanda came out of the bubble or the hex, and she was talking in her regular accent, but in the hex, she talks with her American accent. So it could be very similar, where like this is just her TV version of how he acts. But in the real life, he talks kind of like Pietro. But either way, the show tells you, oh, she recast him. Now, he's got the same look. They did the back, shot for a reason. He's Quicksilver. And so now going forward, we'll see what happens with him. But either way, you are connecting those dots. It doesn't matter if whatever you explain, even if you said, hey, this was a guy that lived in Westview and she just cast him as her brother Quicksilver. That isn't enough. That's not a wink and a nod to the audience. That is a full connection that you already made. You had somebody that played Quicksilver come be Quicksilver. And not only that, he dresses and looks like the Quicksilver we last saw, which was in the 90s. And that's where they kind of are now on the TV show. It is Quicksilver. And so if it is in fact the X or the Fox version of him, you are making the first connection to bringing over the X-Men from Fox through the multiverse. Now, part of that is, well, how did that happen? Again, that scene between Wanda and Vision at the end, like, you don't believe me. Like, there's obviously a part where she's lying and like just outwardly lying. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then he's like, you can't control me like you control them. She said, I can't, or can't I? And so that, once they go back and forth, we're in real talk now. We in real talk. You just got to know the shift in tone. And she says, like, I don't know how all this started. And she says, you don't believe me. And so that's where we all are. We're like, no, we don't believe you. Even Vision says, given the statistical circumstance, all that, I can't believe you. That's how we all are. It is too obvious for that to be the right answer. So we're supposed to feel like we don't believe her. But in truth, that's because another turn is coming. And again, I think that turn is Agatha working with somebody else to say that they're the ones controlling this, even though it might look like Wanda. And to that point, obviously they know what she feels and what she wants. The twins asked about her brother. She's been thinking about him. And now her brother comes. I think, again, that is Agatha, whoever she's working with, is going to be the ones that pulled Evan Peters from the multiverse out of the X-Men and brought him here. Because a lot of people were starting to think Wanda's going to be the villain for Doctor Strange. I just don't see it. I mean, they could, but I just don't see the MCU doing that. They haven't done that with anybody where they just really turn them. The heroes are the heroes, even if they're flawed. And so I'm just thinking that, okay, once the dust settles, whoever Agatha's working for, whoever's the big bad, that's who's going to go over to be the issue in Doctor Strange 2. And Wanda's going to help out Doctor Strange because she was manipulated by them. So I think that's how it's going to end up shaking up. I don't really think that this is just Wanda doing it 100%. I don't know. And there's a bunch of little clues. I got to watch it a couple more times. But there's a bunch of little clues. But overall, I think those are the two things that I'm taking away. Agatha is the one really in control and kind of in some type of way involved in the bigger plot. And that we are 100% crossing over with the XMen and bringing them in through the multiverse. Now, overall, really enjoyed the episode. And to me, I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, it's so much better when it's action and more MCU. I enjoyed the just straight, episodic old school stuff. I was fine with that. But the way they set it up and to show us one perspective and then show us one episode of another perspective. And now they're intertwining everything. And so that's because really you could write a show. You could write a old school Vision and Wanda show. That's one layer of writing. You could write a MCU Sword, WandaVision show. That's another level. But when you intertwine the two and each scene plays off the other perspective, that's the extra layer of writing, and I really appreciate it. So the episode was great, man. I do think there's a lot of things they mention, especially because we starting to see, even when they play a laugh track, they're saying something serious. Even when they're playing the credits, they're saying something serious. And so we now know that every part means something. It's not just them saying stuff. Every part is really meaningful to what the bigger story is. So I enjoyed that part as well. There's a lot on my mind, but I'm gonna stop there. Last thing I'll say is Baby Vision, Young Vision. That was hilarious. But they also said Wanda stole the corpse. They have video footage of it. I know it's setting up again we supposed to feel like this fake. We don't trust this guy. This guy's a bad guy. We're not supposed to trust anything he says. But I don't know, man. Part of me feels like she really did that. And Vision doesn't remember anything before they got there. And she was talking about how she could control him. And there's other parts. But then Rambeau says everything in there is real. So there's parts where it's what are the twins? What is Vision? What's the reality there? And so obviously, like they said, once you go in, it fits reality to match what she wants. And so it's very easy that his corpse could have just transformed into what she's doing with him. And like she said, you don't want to know what's outside of Westview. Maybe outside of that bubble, he's just a corpse. I don't know. He seems to work sentient, independent of her. He has his powers. So I don't know. And again, those are real people. So that's the one thing that trips me up. Those are real people. So when he read that guy's mind, he was able to turn off Wanda's, or whoever's mind control. He actually did that. So even if he was a corpse, he's having real life consequence. So he has to be more than just a corpse. So it's still a lot of questions out there, but I think those are some big parts they point out. But Baby Vision, that was funny with the intro. I love that. So they did the 90s. So I don't know. Are they going to keep doing the 90s, or what's the early 2000s sitcom they might do? I don't know. So anyway, that's it for me. Go down comment section. Oh, my bad. I give this an A, man. Solid A. Go down comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. And remember, if you heard it, it's official canon.